Deleted Session, July 19, 1978. Now, a few remarks before I get to Ruber. I meant to point out at our last session the multitudinous ways in which our sessions are related to the events of the world. Sessions are initially mental, and yet many of them result, of course, in books, which are read by others. You wrote recently that to some extent or another, your daily reality was being changed by your dream recall, an excellent point. Perhaps that idea can give you some glimmering of the ways in which the daily events of your readers' lives are changed as a result of our sessions. They see the world differently, and in one way or another, they communicate that difference to friends and associates. That is a kind of qualitative event that in its own way cannot be judged or ascertained. And it presents a certain kind of emotional evidence, a living knowledge that is transmitted to others and is in its way more valuable than any scientific treatise that might validate our work. If many of your letters are from those in need, this also shows that people who were previously in despair at finding any methods to help themselves now want all the information they can get. Often the contact is really enough, and the reply, whatever it is, for it assures them that someone somewhere is trying to operate within a circle of knowledge and sanity. Now, the main issue with Ruber is the building up of self-trust. This is highly important and can be done by following the precepts I have mentioned. Impulses should be acknowledged and according to their nature act upon or not, but expressed. The impulses will automatically lead to Ruber's greater understanding of himself, and each one in its way will be a signal to act or not to act from framework 2. All in line with a greater pattern that seeks Ruber's for physical recovery and the fulfillment of his abilities. The acknowledgement of such impulses in the procedure just given will automatically help build Ruber's trust in himself, and it is a good idea for him to note such impulses, for later, on certain occasions, he will be able to see how such and such an impulse followed on its own led him to such and such a beneficial event, an event that at the time was completely invisible or unforeseen. Another important way of building his trust is the following, and in parentheses. I have given you this material before, but I am organizing it for your current use. The second way, then, is for Ruber to concentrate upon those improvements he senses daily, either in performance or in feelings of ease, release, or relief, for no day passes without some of these. Thirdly, he has begun lately to sense how this is done, and that is to remind himself of the mysterious ethnicity behind his life, so that he does not try too hard. This trying too hard has caused him some distress. The next way is to make a definite attempt again to live in the present, or at least to live one day at a time. This is highly important at this stage. All of these ideas can be put to excellent use now. Along with them, however, again, Ruber should remember the playful, spontaneous attributes of the creative self. Preparing oversoul 7 gives him a good point of concentration, yet beyond that, he should allow himself the leisure and pleasure of playing with concepts, with poetry, and even with painting. I suggested you do the library together again for that reason, and your dream contest is good for that reason. Your ideas, mentioned earlier, should definitely be acted upon. That is, you do both need some personal communication with others. Planned distractions of short duration, but more numerous than your present habit allows. Your work even requires that give and take with others. Only your habits and attitudes have prevented this, but the idea should be practically put to work. The ideas I have just given will help Gruber build up self-trust, and in the main, that is all that is holding him back right now. The body is responding, and his trust is growing, but it must be built up considerably. Your own attitude has been highly beneficial and has helped him in countless instances. He enjoys it when you play with ideas, and this also stimulates his own activity. Many people do not trust themselves, of course. When you are building self-trust and your body is in any way impaired, then you are learning to do something that you did not do when your body was operating beautifully. The suggestions are of benefit. You should discuss any daily issues that seem troublesome when they occur, or check them with the pendulum, one or the other. The building up of trust, however, will automatically accelerate Gruber's improvements, minimize his discomfort, and hence add to his confidence and performance. He should also read the last few of our sessions, and I have listed my suggestions this evening for his more convenient use. I think you are doing beautifully on now, but then I always have. I have given you the most practical suggestions that I can, and unless you have questions, I bid you a fond good evening. Ross said, well, how about his response to the hot weather? Say said, give us a moment. He attributes hot weather to laziness, leisure, lack of vigor, fruitless activity, and it annoys him. It is not invigorating, except for a few occasions. He has not begun new projects in the summertime. He equates it with vacation and the word's playful activity. That is my answer. Ra said, okay, now why can't he get settled in his new room? Say said, I would not dare to comment, if it were not that he is curious enough to count my response. Large or not, expensive or not, the room has only one window. He thought ahead of time that the size of the large window would more than compensate, but he carries some of his grandfather's old ideas that the wind should be able to blow through a room, so he has been uncomfortable there. That is the only answer I will give for now. Ra said, okay. They said, you can, of course, always use the pendulum, as you used to, both of you, to indicate what portions of the house you each personally prefer to use for certain activities. Remember, however, that your responses may change at different times. I have personally mentioned often the bed reorientation, which would help both of your dream activities and add to your general well-being also. I have nearly given up, but since we are speaking of such issues, I mention that also. End of session. Ra said, all right, thank you.